Shalom, 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 shalom. First and foremost, giving infinite praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Ruchakodash, giving double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom and salutation to all you sincere Akim across the four winds, pushing us truth with sincerity of heart. I'm your fellow servant, because I'm a guy from the DC camp, coming at you through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Hakodash, and feed the elect. And this lesson, today's lesson, going into prophecy, as we know, we inching closer and closer to, the return of our Lord and Savior, whom the world has ignorantly known as Jesus Christ. His name is Yahweh Shai in the Hebrew. The Heavenly Father, Yahweh, is getting ready to send His Son. But prior to that, there's a lot of it's a lot of things that's been going on, that's been established throughout the ages, and especially throughout our captivity. When I say our captivity, I'm referring to the nation of Israel, so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, which are indeed the true Israelites, the true descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So there's certain things, especially when you're dealing with slavery, that happened over here in America, I would say the agreements that were made for, a lot of it, through because of prophecy, and also for survival tactics, especially when you're dealing with the Israelite woman, beginning with the so-called black women from the tribe of Judah, so-called West Indian woman, from the tribe of Benjamin, and a so-called Haitian woman from the tribe of Levi. When you're dealing with the women of the southern tribes, and of course also the rest of the women, because they're not the only ones. You also have, of course, so-called Latinas, and Native American women from all the northern tribes. They have similar contracts that they've made with the oppressor being Esau, the so-called white man, the devil that the Bible speaks of. And these are agreements that they had to make, for their own survival, because, that's just, you understand war, you understand what goes on with that. Now, I want to get into the aspect of dealing with prophecy. Also one of the signs that you will know that the kingdom of Esau and primarily Babylon, the great whore, the United States of America, there's certain signs that you will see in this land that will let you know that basically we are at the precipice of the fall of the great whore. And one of those signs is the agreement, the financial agreement, mental agreement, and spiritual agreement that's always been between the Israelite woman and the Edomite man, right, the so-called white man. Now, I have this image here, clearly going back to the garden. We know that the treasonous relationship between the Israelite woman, primarily the black woman, because she is Eve, basically, because Eve was a black woman. The treasonous relationship that they have was very critical when it came down to the fall of the Israelite man, especially not only our fall, but also to keep us in a docile, subservient state of mind. And that's something that, of course, when you go back to the garden in Genesis, the 3rd chapter, the fall of man, it says that now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which the Lord power had made. All right. And we already know by now the serpent is talking about it's an actual person. It wasn't a snake. It was a person moving as like a snake, making him a serpent. A serpent is a man with a forked tongue, a lying tongue. And it says, and he said unto the woman, right, Eve, it says, yea, has God said, ye shall not eat of every tree in the garden. And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the tree of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, right, the Most High has said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. Because remember, she was told, Adam was told, and then Adam told Eve that this is how it's supposed to be. We're not supposed to deal with that. All right. It says, verse 5, for the Most High doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. So now you're talking about different things from witchcraft to, you know, women usurping authority, because everything that Eve did that was outside, from the conversation that she had, the agreement that she made behind Adam, Adam's back, that by itself is really a form of usurping authority or going around your man's authority, which is off. This is getting out of order. And then from which that comes from pride, and through that you get sin, and then you get all types of abominations and stuff like that. So I'm not gonna go too much into the details of what it was, but let's just say that when you move forward, when you move forward to today's time, because we're dealing with prophecy, and of course you got to go in the past, but you also got to jump in the future. So when you move forward to the second agreement, right? The second agreement that the woman, right? The woman, the Israelite woman, so-called black Hispanic woman, made with the so-called white man, right? Which that was the spirit of the man that was back then in the garden. It was the Edomite, right? So when you go back to the second agreement that was made in this particular garden, because that's basically what the Great Whole America pretty much represents. It represents like a mirror image on the flip side, right? This is the garden on the flip side, where Eve still made a second agreement with the serpent. All right. So now let's get into Revelation chapter 12, verse 1. The subtitle is The Woman Israel. It says, and there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. So now it's talking about the nation of Israel as a whole, men and women, and the 12. The crown of 12 stars represents the 12 tribes of Israel. All right. So it says, and she being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. Right. That goes back to before 70 AD, when the Lord, basically when Israel was under Roman occupation. Of course, Israel was getting ready to receive the birth of, Yahushua, whom the world has ignorantly known as Jesus Christ, right? It says, verse 3, it says, and there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon. All right, you talking about the Roman army, which again, who were the Romans? It was the Edomites, all right, the so-called white man, the so-called white race, all right? It says, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon their heads, and his tail drew the third part of his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. Right? The third part is speaking about the southern tribes. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, to be devoured, to devour her child as soon as it was born. All right. So again, going back to it kind of jumps too. Like that's another thing about prophecy. It'll jump back to pre 70 AD. Right, and then it'll talk about it. Then it'll correlate ancient Rome to, modern day Rome, the modern day Roman Empire, which not only is it a combination of the Great Horde, but also you got the 10 horns, which is the United Nation, and the EU. So it correlates the power of ancient Rome with modern day Rome, which is still the same nationality that controls that power, right? And the primary man is Edom Esau. And I'm really trying to be surface. I can go deeper, but I'm really trying to be surface, because the lesson is about the daughters of Zion, the Israelite woman within the nation of Israel. All right. Now let's go to, let's jump down to our present state. Well, our most recent present state. All right. This is Revelation chapter 12, verse 7. 12 verse 7, it says, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. Now, this hasn't happened yet, so this is going to jump. This is something that's going to happen in the near future. It says, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. It says, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, right? Remember that old serpent spoken of in the book of Genesis, all right, called the devil and Satan, which deceived the whole world. He was cast out in the earth, and his angels was cast out with him. All right, this is something that's going to happen. All right, now let's jump down to there you go right here. Now let's jump down to verse 13. All right, because verse 13 takes us back. All right, verse 13 takes us back to after 70 AD. It takes us back to 70 AD. So Revelation 12 and 13, it says, and when the dragon saw, by the way, the word serpent goes back to the word dragon goes back to serpent as well. You'll find that that equivalence. Verse 13, it says, and when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man child. It says, and the woman were given two wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time. So this is where we got put to flight during the besiege of Jerusalem in 70 AD, right? So we fleeing. You got a great part of Israel that's going into the west coast and the interior parts of Africa. You got certain groups of Israelites that were scattered doing in different places in what we call the diaspora. So it says into her place, because now the place that was prepared, right, was the place called the New World. The New World is the place where the so-called Native Americans, right, had already basically been established for a couple of generations, and that place is called the Americas. I begin primarily North America. All right, because North America was primarily reserved as the primary place of captivity for the southern tribes, the head tribes, beginning with the tribe of Judah, so-called African American, West Indians, and Haitians. But the northern tribes, the so-called Latinos, they were already here in the southern part of the continent, the American continent. All right, it says, into her place where she is nourished for a time, and times and half of the time, and half a time from the face of the serpent. Now, that's what we want to focus on. We want to focus on the fact that she's supposed to be in a certain spot, and she's supposed to be nourished. All right, she's supposed to be nourished from she's supposed to be nourished for a particular period of time. Now, when you go into exactly what that nourishment is, the scripture tells you. Let me close this. All right, Salakia. There you go, right here. Now, the scripture tells you in Deuteronomy 28 that one of the curses is that we were going to go into our enemies for the need of the need and want of all things, because during slavery, the inability, because of the curses, the inability to provide for our families on our own, not being able or not being allowed to create our own industries and our own farms, our own lands, being slaves and just fighting for freedom, so-called freedom, which ended up being emancipation. So, it's impossible. It's impossible because you're a slave, so, and you got the curses upon you. So, Jake got put in a predicament where the men had to be subservient to the master, Esau, and the women were basically taken advantage of by the master. And the women basically decided that, hey, they let's just say that Esau, the devil, primarily his the feminine side of the devil, which is the so-called white woman, and approaching the Israelite woman with a deal, basically. All right, because the thing is, women don't like to be down, and they don't like to be down specifically for a long period of time. If you've been around women, women, they don't like to be down. They don't like to be under adversity, especially not slavery. That's why women are built in a certain way when they're under like great slavery and oppression like that. And as a man, if her man and you alive, it's just a matter of time before she's going to try to look for a deal, a treasonous deal to put herself in a better social economical position, basically. But that's just a method of survival. That's why, it's not something to get mad at. It's just you have to understand who women are and how they move. And the men of old during the warring states understood that about women. That's why you ain't really supposed to be mad. You just got to know that that's just how they are. So in the nourishment right there, now you go back to the Great Society back in the 1960s, where LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson, when he through the Rockefeller, right, which that's what we're gonna get into that second agreement that the Israelite women decided to make here in the Americas. Uh, it was dealing primarily with the main two household of Edom, Esau on the planet Earth right now. Primarily, the main branch is the branch of the Rothschilds, which you should already know, or at least heard about the Rothschilds. And then you got the secondary branch, which is the Rockefeller, which is really an offshore branch of the main branch, which is the Rothschild. They had to make an agreement. They knew that because of our position, when I say our position, the Israelite man's position, so-called Negro, primarily position at the time, that it was prime time to actually approach the woman and give her a deal, put a deal on the table that she would most likely accept, because Esau understands warfare. Unlike the Israelite man that refuses to understand warfare, Esau understands warfare, so he understands the tricks of the trade. When you're at war with a certain group of people, he knew that our women would sell out, because if it was the other way around, their women would do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So that's just how it is. So he approached through the Rockefeller, used Lyndon B. Johnson, and approached that women with a deal. Welfare, child support, which takes the man out the house, the promise of promise of welfare, promise of also better opportunities. That's when the Edomite woman approached our women for to kind of get under the so-called oppression that they were so-called under us. And that was the deal that was taken. And that's where, feminism was introduced. And then you had all the social things like welfare and all that was introduced. So that was the deal that was given. And now you look at this website, this is dated March 6th. All right. And right here it says Rockefeller Brothers Fund, all right, philanthropy for an independent world. So you got the Rockefeller doing their thing. You know what a Rockefeller is. Come on, like I said, I just described them. New World Order. So it says elevating feminist leadership and thought of International Women's Day. So you got an International Women's Day, and guess what you see right there? It's the sapphire. I think that's what you call it, sapphire. Yeah. Which is really, it's the mammy, it's the combination of the Edomite woman, the liberal or conservative. It don't really matter. The Edomite woman, propped up by the Edomite man to basically approach the Israelite woman, primarily the black woman, and constantly sell her this deal of making sure you're not being oppressed by men, right? Make sure the men don't, we're going to give you subsidies. We're going to give you jobs. We're going to make you financially stable and financially independent, financially independent of your Israelite man, basically. Because look at your man. Your man is a loser. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at your family. Your family's destroyed. Your man is a loser. Your man's been losing to our man for like almost 500 years. Like, do you want to keep losing with your man? Or do you want to leave his ass behind and get this deal? And we already know the decision that our women made, which, like I said, it is what it is. When you understand warfare, you don't trip. You just understand that the loser to the winner goes to spoil. So it says March 8th is International Women's Day, first recognized by the United Nations in 1977. This global holiday celebrates women's achievements and issues are called to accelerate gender equity around the world. While the Rockefeller Brothers Fund does not have a specific program dedicated to women's issues, many of our grant makers have dedicated resources to elevating feminist thoughts and leadership as critical components. Right, so it's all about elevating. It's all about basically going into the mind of a woman, because you got to understand, when women rise up like this, Women are never leading these movements. Women are always propped up by other males. I've always said this. One of the greatest war tactics that generals, great men of war, have always used is using women to destroy other men. Like, that's something that, again, if you understand warfare, you understand women don't just rise up. They're always propped up by other men. It's a war tactic, to get at other men, to weaken other men. Because a man rather go to war against an enemy, a male enemy that's weakened, than actually go to war on against a male enemy that's strong and ready for him. Especially Esau, he doesn't want that equal confrontation. You know what I'm saying? That's why he'd rather use the woman to kind of weaken you before he comes in, pretty much, have you devastated. So now, when we go into feminism, what did feminism do? Of course, they were given, women were given they were given, again, social economic standings, grants, subsidies. But of course, the requirement was so that the father could not be in the house, But we know that the nucleus of the family, it starts with the backbone, which is the father. The father is the end all be all. So you take the father out the house, you get, the culture that we have right now, the hip hop, effeminate, emotional, Israelite men culture, black on black crime, all of that derives from the deal that was made. So now, when you go to Jeremiah 31 and 22, it says, "How long wilt thou go about, O thou backsliding daughter? All right, for the Lord has created a new thing in the earth. A woman shall compass a man." Now, the backsliding daughter is really talking about the nation of Israel as a whole, but primarily the Israelite man. But because the Israelite man has broken a contract with his power, Yahweh Shai, one of the punishment of the Israelite men is to have his women betray him. That's the reason why our women had no, the deal was presented to our women so that they would betray us. They'll commit treason. Even like I said, I don't, it's not, listen, we don't hate our women. You'll hate, listen, if you don't understand warfare and women, you would hate them and hate what they've done. But once you understand the big picture, you understand that any woman would have done that, just like the Edomite woman. When we take down Esau, the Edomite woman, man, she gonna be chilling like a concubine, laughing at her man getting his ass kicked. So trust me, this is nothing new under the sun. That's just what women do when you lose a war. They turn treasonous. It is what it is. That's why you don't want to lose. You know what I'm saying? So it says a woman shall compass a man. So a woman's gonna go around a man. She gonna run circles around men. So these things. That's why you see dudes out here just cannot figure out what's going on with their women and so on and so forth. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But now, when we go into the news now, right, going into the prophecy, because this is not about just getting on women and all that. It's about the bigger picture. The bigger picture is one of the prophecies, one of the points, the critical points where you would know that America is at the precipice of its downfall. To reaffirm your faith is to see the deal and the contract that was made between the Israelite women and the Edomites. That contract come to an end and blow up in their face. Now it says this is out of the livemint.com, and it says the Great American Struggle. 72% of women report financial stress compared to 67% of men, as per survey. All right, so there's some struggling times out here, man. Like I said, the things that feminism promised, like the Rockefeller, everything that they promised these women, and of course, our women are not the only ones, feeling the pressure, because it's a deal that eventually all the women of all the nations bought into this deal. But the primary target was the Israelite woman, beginning with the so-called black women and then so-called Latino and Native American women. But all of them are getting the blowback now. And it's a critical sign that the economy is getting ready to collapse, because it was always supposed to be like that. Because the women were a critical part of the American economy, because women are extremely volatile consumers. So that's how they keep this thing. The men spend money on the women, and the women spend all the money that the men either give them or the money that they make, and that's how you get this economy moving. It says financial stress is on the rise in America as a result of the C-19 pandemic, with over 50% of adults reporting an increase in financial anxiety since the pandemic began in March 2020. The findings are part of the CNBC Your Money Financial Confidence Survey conducted in partnership with Momentive, which questioned 43,036 adults at the end of March. The survey highlights the financial pressures facing Americans during the pandemic, with rising basic household expenses, inflation, and instability all contributing to increased anxiety. All right, women in particular are feeling the squeeze, with lower pay and higher childcare costs adding to their financial stress. Women are very expensive individuals. You deal with women, you know, women are extremely expensive. So even by themselves, the amount of money that they spend just on their bodies, just to keep their body up to snuff. I mean, yeah, man, so, and the economy is tumbling. So, and guess what? The amount of and the thing is, feminism has been so strong that the women are being stressed out because they having to spend a lot of money. And in the time past, they would line up, they would get with a man, they'd get with a man, and the man would most likely spend half of his money on her while she spent all of her money on her. You know what I'm saying? But now that you got feminism and she's independent and they've been moving independently, guess what happens? Now all the stress is on them. They gotta pay their own bills. So it's listen, man. But this is the deal that was made, so that you wouldn't be subservient to your man. So, you made the deal. I mean, and now the contract is coming to an end, and this economy cannot support. This economy cannot run on only women spending money, because the men are not spending it on money the way they used to spend money. Plenty of reasons. Some of them are going broke, but you got a lot of men are not in a relationship. So you got a lot of men in a relationship that are not spending money like they used to. Dinners, restaurants are closing because people don't go to dates. Men are not spending money. So these are things that are showing. It's a slippery slope, letting you know that I personally believe. I'm not saying it will be. I'm not. I personally believe that 2023 got to be this year where got to be that year where economically it's the bottom falls out. And that because a lot of economy is based on the relationship and the dynamic between men and women, especially the Israelite man and the Israelite woman. There's a big spenders, number one consumers, consumers and spenders at the Israelite man and Israelite woman. We save nothing. Now, I have another article right here. It says women and their financial security. It says half of American women report struggling financially today, leaving them worried and uncertain about retirement. It says just over half of American women ages 25 and older say they do not consider themselves financially secure, and 77 of low-income women say the same, because most of them are single, so it's a lot of stress. Even like me and the brothers and the men that are single, Israelite men that are single, I mean, you just really, you starting to realize, like, bro, like, getting a woman, man, it's like buying an extra car. I mean, because things is tight out here for everybody. It's not just women. Things are tight for everybody, because this is a sign that the bottom of it is getting ready to fall off from in this economy. So, sometimes I'm like, man, a woman, that's extra expenses, bro. Like, you just do not need that right now. Like, you got to move light. So it says nearly half of women report not having an employer-sponsored retirement plan. 90% of women express support for 8 of 13 potential policy solutions. All 13 potential policy solutions receive strong bipartisan support. So they got to run back to Esau. They got to run back to the devil for more help to kind of re-sign a new contract. But the reality is this, though, man. The Lord is the one who set this up. The Lord, He's the one who allowed that that relationship to take place as a punishment to the Israelite man. So now that the Israelite man is rising up, the hopeful elect, right, the 144,000, the remaining of the 1/3, primarily the 12,000 men from each tribe, the closer we are to that number, the 144 number being sealed, you starting to see the cracks and you starting to see the economy about to fall out. And again, it's going to start with the women. They're going to start to crumble, just like it was prophesied. They're going to start to crumble. The men are going to crumble as well. So it's not just the women. It's just is a great humbling that's coming for everybody. This is Isaiah chapter 32, verse 9. It says, "Rise up, ye women that are at ease. Hear my voice, ye careless daughters. Give ear unto my speech." Right. So that's a warning to the Israelite woman, in Babylon, that's just out here, buying into this feminism crap while the economy is collapsing, their finances, but really it's a warning, and only really a few women kind of listen because they listen to the men of the Lord. But this is a warning that is, when it comes to women, the majority of women, Israelite women, is going to fall into deaf ears. Because I've always, like I said, I'm known because I'm, like I said, just get involved into warfare and understanding warfare. I personally know women don't listen to words. They never listen to words. They just they have to see with their own eyes society shift before they start to actually shift their actions. Words not going to make it happen. So it says, rise up, ye women that are at ease, hear my voice, ye careless daughters, give ear unto my speech. Verse 10, it says, many days and years shall ye be troubled, ye careless women, for the vintage shall fail. Right, the retirement plan is not going to be there. The things like Social Security is running out. The boomers have eaten all the Social Security. Boomers and Gen Xers, they ate all they lived a lot longer than there was they were supposed to, according to the New World Order's plans. So they've eaten all the Social Security. All right. It says, rise up, ye women that are at ease, hear my voice, ye careless daughters, give ear to my speech. Many days and years shall you be troubled, ye careless women, for the vintage shall fail, the gathering shall not come. Right? The gathering is the retirement. That's when you gather all your work at the end of the day. You trying to retire. It ain't going to be nothing. It ain't going to be no 401k. Saying the dollar's going to go out. The CBDC's coming in. You're going to have social credit scores. You're going to have to buy into this. That's going to be the final, because that's the thing. Like, the majority of Israelite women, man, they're going to have to go back again and sign a third and final contract with Edom Esau, which is when they actually going to say, listen, from this day forward, you own us. You could put this microchip in our arm and on our forehead, and you own us. We don't belong to the Israelite man. We don't belong to God and none of that. We belong to you, And we put this oath in front of God and men that we belong to you. Put this microchip in our right hand and our forehead. So that's just the reality. This is prophecy. All right. It says, verse 11, tremble, ye women that are at ease, be troubled, ye careless ones. Strip you and make you bare, and gird sackcloth upon your loins side. They shall lament for the teats, for the pleasant fields, for the fruitful vine. All right. It says, upon the land of my people shall come up thorns and briars, yea, upon all the houses of joy in the joyous city, because the places shall be forsaken, the multitude of the city shall be left, the forts and towers shall be for dens forever, and a joy of wild asses and pasture flocks. Now let's go to Ezekiel 9:4, because the thing is, you are gonna have some Israelite women that are gonna be able to escape. They're going to relinquish because they're going to be forced into it. All right. Like I said, societal shift and economical collapse, primarily chaos in the cities, martial law, National Guard, what's that? All these mercenary troops going in and the pillaging of our neighborhoods. Like I said, concentration camps. These are the things that's going to force what we call the hopeful, elect Israelite women to kind of, to be forced to be humble. speech and all that. That's just not gonna do it. It says Ezekiel 9:4, it says, and the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that are sighing that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. All right, and those are the prophets, and also the hopeful elect men across the four winds, part of the 1/3, that are asking the Lord, like, how long, it says, and to the others, he said, in my hearing, go ye after him through the city, and smite, and let not your eyes spare, neither have ye pity. It's important, neither have ye pity. It says, slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women. All right, so you're going to have a slaying of men, women, children, and women. That's why it says no pity, because when you live in a gynocentric society, you already know if a man commit murder, he'll probably get 25 to life. If a woman commits the same exact crime, she'll probably get 15. It's rare that they get punished the same way a man does. Well, see, that's because you're in a gynocentric, Edomite-driven, devil-driven society. But when it comes to the nation of Israel, the scripture says the law of Israel, the law, statutes, commandments have dominion over a man, over the Israelite person, because it says an Israelite man, but it's really an Israelite person, as long as he liveth, right? So our women got to keep the Sabbath. Our women can't commit adultery. Our women have to keep the same laws we got to keep. So if we break laws or they break laws, there ain't no way we going to get punished, and they just going to be let go because they got something between their legs. See, the Most High doesn't deal like that. He deals with proper judgment and no partiality. And these things have to be established. If you're going to have righteous judgment, you can't just kind of like choose judgment according to gender and all that. The Lord doesn't deal with that. That's that new world, garbage. So let me see. Let's finish with the remnant. Isaiah 4:1. It says, and in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, all right, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Let us be called by that name and take away our reproach. Yeah, when the economy collapses, and we know it's going to be a lot of the bottom's going to fall out. People going to get it. Like, you got major evictions coming up, so you're going to have a lot of women's going to be forced to be humble, and they're gonna go back. They listen. You have one thing that women know. They know the power of manipulation, and they know how to tell you what you want to hear. So a woman could cuss you out. A woman could be out in the street and cuss you out like a straight dog and have everybody laughing at you, talking about how small your thing is and all that, right? And then the whole bottom falls out, and you happen to be the only one that she knows still got his shit together while everybody's out here starving to death and killing each other. That same woman will be knocking at your door on her knees, apologizing. And that whole theater that she put out there, like just embarrassing you, she gonna act like that shit never happened. So you gotta understand who you dealing with, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, hey, man, listen. Again, that's what we do. That's also a part of, this fight that we have to fight. So you're gonna have guys that's gonna fall for it. You're gonna have men that's not gonna fall for it. So, but it is gonna be what it is, man. Isaiah 4:2, it says, in that day shall the branch of the Lord be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the earth shall be excellent and comely for them that are escaped of Israel. Right. So you don't have some, you got not every woman is gonna be like, we need our women to replenish the nation of Israel, man. They gotta be saved for childbirth. But there's some women out there, man. They're gonna try to force themselves upon men, upon brothers when this thing collapses. But just because they're slated to be 2/3, according to Zechariah, it don't matter what you do. You may want to simp and all that other stuff, man. The Lord gonna kill her, bro. Like, there's nothing you can do about that. So this is Isaiah chapter 4:3. It says, and it shall come to pass that he that is left in Zion, right, and he that remaineth in Jerusalem shall be called holy, even everyone that is written among the living in Jerusalem, when the Lord shall have washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion, right? And shall have purged. The filth is talking about is primarily feminism. That's the biggest filth, and in the mind of the Israelite woman is feminism, because it's about not submitting to your man. So so it says, but as long as Esau is ruling, our women would never submit to us, and it's understandable. I mean, who submits? Like women, I mean, again, it is what it is, man. When the Lord shall wash away the filth of the daughters of Zion, and shall have purged the blood of Jerusalem from the midst thereof by the spirit of judgment and by the spirit of burning. All right, so you're going to have the spirit of judgment and the spirit of burning, because at the end of the day, the elect are going to be delivered. The elect, the 144,000, 12,000 men from each tribe, and then you're going to have the women that's going to be a part of the multitude of 1/3. All right, so it's like I said, this is about prophecy. It's about understanding how close we are, and there's certain elements, certain strongholds that are going to be taken down right in front of us, just as prophesied in the scriptures. So it just brings us one step closer to the return of the Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, man, and the downfall of the great whore of Babylon, aka the U.S., man. I mean, that's what we got. That's the prophecy. So that's all I had in this lesson. I know it was a little long, but through the Spirit, I was able to bring some, to break down, some precepts and bring some information, so we can all get ready for this financial collapse that's coming, that's near. All right. So with that, I'm gonna say, Carl Hamla Yahweh, Bashim El Shah, Bashim Hakodash, give a double honor to our apostles, elders, great millstone, Shalom, salutation. All you says here, Akim across the four winds, pushing this truth. It's a city of heart, and a few sisters that still hang in there. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. We got to keep grinding. We got to keep grinding. Stay faithful. You know what I'm saying? We almost out of here. Cause I'm a guy from the DC camp. Shalom.